All right, and we're back with you on this breaking news. Manchester West put in a lockdown this morning. The school in lockdown and no longer in lockdown, but after an arrest was made, we want to go live to this press conference with Manchester Police Officer or Police Chief David Mara.
Were brought in to try to locate this person. During a subsequent search, we located a 21-year-old who did not belong in the school, never been a student in the school, and he was found in a classroom. A search was conducted and a pellet gun was located as well as a knife. At no time were any overt threats made to any students, to any teachers. What the school administration and the staff at the school did, as well as the Manchester Police, we followed our training and we were able to bring this to an end, and we were glad that it wasn't a real gun. However, this illustrates that training is important, that we have to continue to safeguard the safety of our children, and I just want to show the public that that's what we did. At this time, I'd like to hand the mic over to Dr. Deborah Livingston. She's the superintendent in schools in Manchester.
Good morning, everyone. This morning, during the search for the unwanted individual who came into West High School, every procedure was followed like clockwork. I would like to commend Principal Motika, the teachers, and the other administrators in the building, as well as the students. Also thank our parents who remain calm and assisted us, as most students have been dismissed at this time if they so choose. I'd also like to thank the Manchester Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, for their wonderful response in keeping all of our students safe, and to thank students who were able to come forward and let us know that there was a possible person in the building, and allowed us to act very quickly, and we're very pleased that every child is safe, and we couldn't be more pleased with everyone's response. So thank you very much.
Did you want to speak? No. I would just like to add what was good about today. This is a good illustration of what happens with training, and it was good to see that we were able to get the state police here. Multiple state police units were here, cars, the Sheriff's Department. So we were able to shut down the area to ensure the safety of the public very quickly. So if anything, although no real threat was involved here, it was good to see that all the training, as I said before, interaction between the school administration, Manchester Police, the state police, and the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. It was good to see that. And I like to, the reason I'm really emphasizing this is for parents to know that if something does happen at a school, we are going to respond appropriately, and we're going to work together to ensure the safety of the children.
Chief, may I ask, you said he was found in a classroom. Was it an occupied classroom?
It was an occupied classroom.
Do you know what he was doing in the building?
That's still under investigation.
Were parents notified by the school what was going on?
I'll hand that over as far as what the school did, but we notified the people on our NICSO list. We immediately contacted the press after the lockdown, so we could get the word out to the public.
We also sent out an email to all parents who receive our email on our distribution list, and we had this district office sending out information as it was available.
Was there a struggle when he was apprehended? Was he holding any children hostage? Did he say anything? What was his demeanor?
No, as I said before, there were no overt threats. He was not threatening to anybody. There was no struggle.
How did he get into the building if all the doors were locked, the outside doors?
I can answer that. When students come in first thing in the morning before the bell rings, the front door is open so that all of our students can come into the building. They get their breakfast and go off to class. So the door was open, just the front door.
Do we know if he's from the area or anything about his history?
He is from the area, and at this time I'm reluctant, while the investigation continues, to give out too much information about him. There'll be more to follow.
Mr. Johnson went to school here, though?
My understanding, he didn't.
He did not.
And I didn't say that's his name, you did.
What type
Okay.
of knife did you recover from him?
Well, I'm not exactly sure about what type of knife it was. But again, no weapons of any type are not allowed in school.
Chief, we know he was charged with criminal trespass. What other charges do you anticipate?
That is what we're looking into. We're looking into that.
Was there anything else in the duffel bags? I understand there was 2 duffel bags. What else was inside? Just the gun and the knife?
That was the only contraband that we were able to locate.
But you didn't resist at all? You guys took him down?
No resistance. Yeah, it was.
Did he say anything to you? Express anything to you? The emotion? Give us his demeanor.
At this time, I'm not going to comment on that.
Do you know if he was related to any of the younger students?
What we're doing right now is part of the investigation is what was his intent of going into the school, why was he here, and why did he go into that particular classroom.
Was there a history of mental illness or anything you can tell us?
There's nothing I can tell you about the person. It's part of the investigation.
Can you tell me about the response time? How long did it take from the point of notification to the actual apprehension?
It went from the time approximately 8 a.m. and the lockdown was ended 9:40. So.
Was it like an 11th grade history class? Was it like a shop class? Health class? Biology?
It's a small classroom, and it's an alternative program, so there were very few other people in the room, and it's a very small classroom, as I said.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. How many people were in the class? I don't know. At this time, I don't know. There was a teacher there, and the teacher took appropriate action. The teacher was alert, and she was very helpful.
Did anybody hold down the student until police got there? Did they try to restrain him?
What wasn't necessary, as without going too much into the investigation, at no time did he make any threat or act violently or act out.
What kind of training does the school district do as far as preparing for something like this?
I'll hand it back over to Dr. Livingston, but I can tell you that we have worked with the school. We last year, I believe it was last year, we during a school vacation day, we practiced having somebody in the school, coordinating with the fire department, other agencies, as well as the school administration, what happens in a circumstance like this. So.
Well, certainly we're most concerned about safety, and the safety occurs when we practice often. And so across the school district we have various drills that we do, including fire drills, and then we're able to debrief afterwards so that we can make sure that everything that went smoothly and make any adjustments as might be necessary. So this is a continual process throughout the school year.
What were the students told when this was going on?
When we practice a lockdown drill, and yeah, the same thing happened today. The principal will get on the intercom and announce that it's a lockdown, and that's as much as is said to the students when we do this.
I'm sorry if I missed it earlier, but did you say that students were the ones who alerted administrators?
Yes, our school resource officer was alerted, and he then started the process.
And he was alerted by a student?
Yes.
The student who notified the school resource officer, was that person in the classroom with this suspect?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Has something like this happened at this high school before?
Not that I'm not aware of it.
The charges he might be facing? Potential charges he could be facing?
At this time, I don't think it's prudent for me to talk about that. The investigation is still going on. There are some other possible charges. Right now, it is criminal trespass for not being authorized to be within the building.
Is he familiar with you guys? Is he a frequent flyer? Is he familiar with you guys?
Again, I am not going to comment on that, but later on, we're hoping to release more information. I think it's important that people know what happened here in the whole story, but the investigation now has just been initiated, and there's going to be a little bit of time before we can release more information.
You could have another press conference for us later on this afternoon.
What else? I don't know if a press conference is for the amount of information we're going to be giving you. I'm not so sure a press conference would be warranted, but what we will do is send out a press release. And our press officer, Sergeant O'Keefe, is there. So if we don't already have your information, please give it to him, and we'll make sure that you get the press release.
Chief, were the weapons found on his body or in the duffel bag?
In the duffel bag.
Did he have it with him?
Both of them.
Or in the car?
It was in the classroom.
So he had 2 duffel bags with him, is that what you said?
At this time, again, it's all part of the investigation. I'm not going to...
Can pellets, I'm not a police officer, I've only fired a gun a few times. Can pellets do damage? Can pellets hurt someone?
It is certainly a dangerous weapon if used inappropriately, yes.
Do you believe that was his intent?
There is nothing in our investigation at this time to indicate he had any intent to do anything with that, with what he had. But we're still, as I say, and the investigation is ongoing. We want to know what his motivation was. Number one, coming to the school, and number two, why did he have those items?
So the student saw him with the weapon, then you discovered the weapon in the duffel bag. He must have stowed it in between at some point. Do you think that was an effort to hide it, or?
We're getting a little too deep into, as I said before, there could be some more possible charges, so that's why I don't want to really comment too much on the investigation. Any other questions?
I have a question. Some of the parents are complaining that they weren't notified. Do you think the email was sufficient, and are you going to look at possible changes to the communications?
We also, immediately as we were receiving information, we did put that information on our website. We do have the Aspen system that allows an email or a text to be sent. But yes, we actually are in the process of purchasing for the district a system that can alert all parents who wish to be notified in case of an emergency or weather-related, etc.
And if I can just follow up on that, after an incident like this happens, what we are going to do is we're going to have a debrief. We're going to talk over what had happened, how we handled it, and this is going to include the law enforcement agencies that were here, as well as the school personnel. So we're going to see what could we've done better, what did we do wrong, if anything, and we're going to evaluate, and it's going to make us better at responding to things. I'd like to say, though, that from all indications that we have seen, the school administration worked very well, and they followed their training, and they were very helpful in bringing this to a safe conclusion.
Chief, the student that first reported this said they saw a gun. The gun was not concealed in the duffel bag at that time, or do you know how that student saw the gun and what the knife was in the duffel bag? Where was the gun?
That is something we're involved in witnesses. I really not want to talk about that.
Quick question, sir.
Yes.
A lot of pellets on him. Yes, no.
I don't know.
Okay, and second one, FBI came up this morning saying mass shootings are up. You know, you hear something like this, your heart starts pounding, you think just something horrible. Obviously, you're glad this has turned out to be very positive. Can you just tell me your thoughts, especially in light of what's happened within our country in the last couple of years?
Well, you can see from the response. You saw how many police officers are out here. You look at what happened in Newtown. You looked at happening at the recent mall shootings. This is what law enforcement, it seems to be a trend, and this is what we train for. We have to keep our training up to date in what's going on in society, and that's what I'm saying. It's so important that we train and we're able to work together, different agencies in schools, to be able to do what we did today.
And obviously, you're glad your officers reacted to this ended peacefully.
Yep, I'm very thankful at the beginning of this, and at the end, I'm just very thankful no students were injured, first of all, and then staff and of course, police officers.
Is my understanding that police robots that are used in bomb situations were called to the scene? Did you end up using the robot? No. And what was the reasoning for bringing them out here?
No, it's because we don't know what we have. So we bring all the equipment that's at our disposal, and it's there if we need it.
Chief, what role did the school resource officer play in finding the kid who shouldn't have been there or anything else?
What happened is the school resource officer was initially alerted that there was somebody in the school that didn't belong there and had what looked like a handgun.
Did he go looking for
What he did,
or just notify you folks and wait?
what he did is he immediately notified school administration, and what happened is they initiated the lockdown, and then we were called in. And what's good about it, at any given time in the Manchester Police Department, we have members of the SWAT team working. They work in all divisions, so they were activated. They came over right away. State Police had a very large contingent come here, as well as the Sheriff's Department.
How many officers in all were called here? Do you know?
This is something I don't have those numbers now, but that's going to be something about the debriefing. We're gonna be looking at everything. How was this handled? Where did we respond to? How many, as you were saying, how many units from each agency were here?
One more question, Chief. Folks, one or two more questions?
Any more questions?
Just one more, Chief. I just want to understand, did the student resource officer go to the place where he was told the former student was seen, or did he wait for you to arrive in Forest before initiating the search?
All I can tell you is that where that person was last seen, he wasn't there, and he initiated the lockdown. So, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, so that's Manchester Police Chief David Morrow with a press conference there. Let's bring you up to speed on exactly what we know now. Shortly after 8 a.m. at Manchester West High School this morning, a former student was spotted in the school. Police say he was carrying a gun and also a knife. A 16-year-old Manchester West student alertly notified the authorities. The school immediately put into lockdown. Police and SWAT teams searched the school and found the 21-year-old suspect in a classroom where he was taken into custody. You're looking at him now. His name is Damian Johnson. He has been arrested and charged with criminal trespassing. The investigation just being initiated. There could potentially be more charges on Damian Johnson for this incident. The school is no longer in lockdown. There were no injuries, and students were dismissed if they so chose. We have reaction now from some of the Manchester West parents.
Kind of scary, to be honest with you. You know, you don't expect this at your kid's school, but I'm glad that the response that we got, and it was very quick, and nobody got hurt, so we're thankful for that.
I got two in there. One's I haven't heard from, and the other one is scared, so I'm glad that they're okay. So that's all I can say is I want to squeeze them.
I'm glad the police were as quick as they were. I'm a little nervous. I haven't heard from my son. He actually forgot his cell phone this morning, so I haven't get any word from him yet. But I'm glad the police were here as quick as they were and got him into custody.
And again, police say there were no injuries and that this man, Damian Johnson, has been arrested and charged with criminal trespassing. Police say every procedure that they have trained for was followed and that they were able to ensure the safety of the public. We will continue to follow this for you. We'll have much more, including live reports, coming up on News 9 at noon.